right. Good afternoon. Uh, excuse me. Hope you guys are doing well. And we're going to be doing a quick stream. I'm going to be looking at a couple of film trailers that are like, well, kind of a sign of the times. I have some thoughts on them. There is at least one that I haven't actually seen. Hello, Asclepius and Gin Bottle. What's up? Today's a busy day for me. I got 3 streams, so I'm doing this one, then I'm doing something at Honey Badger Arcade, and then I have a fireside chat tonight with BX, the woman who broke the story on us being, well, sort of tracked or redirected by the Department of Homeland Security. So kind of a lot going on. Hope you guys are having a good day. I wanted to do a couple things on my own before we get into those other things. So, Toby, what's up? Zeranx, what's up? Trailers now. Yeah, thoughts. I know. So let's get into the story or the trailers. I'm kind of still speaking like I'm doing the news show. And I'm gonna keep this one short because I got to do Honey Badger Arcade. I got to take the dog out. I got to pick the wife up. I got lots to do, so we're gonna try and keep this short. But we're starting with this trailer that was announced by A24, and I believe it's directed by. Well, we're gonna get into it. I think I know the director. He's done some other things. One movie I did like, another movie that I've had mixed feelings about. So this is called Civil War. All right, here we're gonna watch some of this. So let me know your thoughts in the chat.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The 3-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
All right, so first things first. I don't know if you see, to me, it's pretty obvious what they're doing here. I think that what is happening is Hollywood is trying to accelerate things. They're trying to position themselves as on the right side of history. I mentioned Adam Friended and Sitch in the title because I've seen this trailer and I know what it's about. It's not at all subtle. It's not even a little bit subtle. It's definitely like, it's woke. It's woke, like pro Civil War, right side of history, revolution. It's always the same stuff. California and Texas together, LMAO. Yeah, I know, but you know what? I'm going to make the case as to why they would do that. I don't think it's dumb. And I'll tell you why. Because if you look at this is just in the first 20 seconds, okay? So you have this chaos. They have these shots, these establishing shots of like how bad things are. And then you have like a guy who has a Latino accent, obviously, talking to a store owner who's a white woman and saying, there's a really serious civil war going on out there. Now, here's what I think they're suggesting. And I don't think it's stupid, and I think it makes sense, okay? With what's going on at the border right now, the goal of these people, these globalist types, these global homos, okay, is to eliminate the notion of nations, like the idea of nations. And one of the ways they do that is by creating these kind of narratives, these Civil War narratives, okay? Now, why would Texas be in league with or allied with California? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the goal of this unrelenting open border on the southern end of our country is to change the voting patterns of the people who live in the country. It's to bring in as many people who vote blue as possible. And there, despite the fact that it's Texas, there is it's not as red a state as people are led to believe. And a lot of it has to do with this demographic change. And they're not just bringing people from Mexico and like South America. I don't know if this movie's going to show that, but there are people going in there from like Morocco and the Middle East and Africa and China that are crossing our southern border. Now, the goal of this is the goal of the border being open is to essentially adjust the demographics such that the Republicans or people who vote for small government, people who care about their country, they don't even have to be Republicans, right? People who are kind of civic nationalist types, is to essentially wash that completely out. Because if you just bring in people who are going to vote for Gibbs, or they're just going to be led to believe that America's going to take care of them, then they will vote for the party that let them in, and that is the Democrats. So they're just going to change Texas. And I think that this movie operates under the presumption that they did. I think that's why it's the Texas Alliance. That's my belief. Okay. So a lot of people who fled California moved to Texas too. And their voting patterns may not have changed, because if they don't understand why California went to shit and they go to Texas, they'll bring all their voting habits with them. And I think that that's what this is, because they're centering the story on women and minorities. And we're going to see that in the trailer. And the white guys that they show are either pretty overtly the villains, or they're probably like, they may not have made it overt, but it's pretty clear that they are. And that's another thing that they're doing. You have to understand, like, there are no accidents when people put these films together and these trailers together. It's not incidental. Like, they have a strong intent in what they do. And we can like chuckle at some of the stuff that doesn't seem to make sense to us now. But if you put it in the perspective of people who know what they want, like what their ambitions are, then actually it's kind of terrifying, because they're saying, we're going to change your country so it's nothing like you thought it was. And that's what they want to do. So anyway, yeah, Texas Alliance. All right, let's play some more of the trailer. Here we go.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
All right, let's pause it again. So so we got I think it's the president being played by Nick Offerman, who you guys might know as Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation, or that Bill character from the Last of Us TV show. And he is perfect for this, because he is symbolically exactly the kind of person they want to put up there as like a villain. He's white. He's male. He has like a masculine. He presents pretty masculine for a guy, right? We know that Nick Offerman's a big old lefty feminist. I mean, there was photos of him at the women's marches wearing a pussy hat, like during like the whole Me Too and like the the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Like, he was very involved. So he's clearly not the character he played on Parks and Rec. He's not that guy, right? So it's like, well, he's the perfect guy. So I think I'm just calling it now. I'm not going to watch this movie because fuck this movie, but I'm calling it now. He is one of, if not the main villain in the story. And apparently that clip sounds to me like he's propagandizing his own population by saying, we have defeated these people, these Western forces. They suffered a great defeat. And he's saying the United States of America as if to separate the US from these other, this other side. So I think that he's basically like the Trump stand-in. And I know people say, Trump, dude, the guy lives rent-free in their heads. He has for like the last, fucking 7 years. And it's not going away. This Trump thing, and not just that, but like Brexit and just like even Gamergate, like, it has broken these people's brains. They cannot even fathom any other reality except the one they constructed in their head. So Nick Offerman is the Trump in this story. I guarantee it. If I'm wrong, then I'll eat my own. I don't know this guitar pick, but I don't think I am. I think that it's very obvious. And okay, Alex Garland, I think his name is, right, the director. So it's also good to look at the pattern. Okay, so 28 Days Later wasn't bad. It's not super memorable, but it had some stuff in it that was interesting. Ex Machina, I'm torn on that one because it was well made, but something about the way the story unfolded, I really disliked. When they humanize machines and they make them into victims because the machines appear female. And this is something, it's a tactic that I've seen many times. Where, because if you don't know Ex Machina, spoilers, but basically there's a guy who designs robots, and he wants to, he claims that he's designed a perfect robot, and of course it's a girl, a female robot, and he also owns a robot that he uses for sexual pleasure, and so you have this guy played by Oscar Isaac. He's like using women, but they're machines, they're not real women, right? It's like they're robots, but we are made to sympathize with the female machine who ends up murdering not just Oscar Isaac's character, but another man, and then goes out into the real world. There's definitely like a feminist power fantasy going on there. And then Annihilation, which I also liked. I liked Annihilation. It was a good cosmic horror type of thing, but I'm pretty sure that Alex Garland, I'm going to look it up really quick because I meant to do this before, but I'm pretty sure that Alex Garland also directed Men. Yes, he did. And Men, Allison and I did a review or a walkthrough of the movie. I think Allison she spurged out and she got hung up on what I think are the wrong details, but Men was definitely a misandrist movie, like 100%, because it was essentially a man and a woman. They have a bad breakup. The man strikes the woman because, of course, he's abusive. The woman says, I want to break up with you. The man threatens to kill himself if she does, and then he dies. It's unclear as to whether or not it's suicide, but it's likely that it was. So you have like a manipulative, abusive man who kills himself to get back at a woman who doesn't want to be with him anymore. And so to sort of get over it, she travels to the countryside, and there she encounters every single like sexist stereotype of feminist imagining. And they're all the same, played by the same guy. And so it's got some interesting visuals because I think Alex Garland is good at that. It's got some interesting, like, symbolic themes in it to some degree, although I think they're a little bit surface level to make the film seem more sophisticated than it really is. But at the end of the day, it's just like man bad, woman victim. That's like the whole movie. And so when I learned that he was making this, and the guy, I believe he's an Englishman too. So you have a person who's not from America making a movie about America. Like, it's like his perception, right? His sort of like elite left-wing like perspective on the United States and the situation here. Like, go out and touch grass. Like the United States is not like this. It's not even close to this. That's internet shit, in my opinion. I mean, there's problems. We have problems with political, figures and stuff like that. But like regular people are just regular. So let me look at your comments and then I'll move on. But yeah, not a fan of Alex Garland in general. He's done a couple of movies that I liked, but I mean, really, it's just Annihilation and 28 Days Later. They were okay, Let's see. Toby says, wait, who is the girl in the store and why doesn't she care? Oh, that's a good point. I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna tell you what it means, because everything means something, okay? So the Mexican guy goes in and he's like, do you know that there's a war out here? Because the woman's just operating a store. And the woman's like, I want to stay out of it, okay? So the woman represents the silent majority that the filmmakers believe to be like people who sit on the fence, who are neutral. And the point is to motivate those people to be active and join their side. And I mean, like, not in the film, but in the minds of the filmmakers, the people responsible, they're saying, you know, if we don't stop Trump, this is what's going to happen, and you have to stand up. So they're doing this on purpose. I guarantee you that's what this is. I guarantee you there's a woman and she just wants to be left alone and she doesn't want to get involved. And then there's this guy and he's like, you're going to get involved. Fascism is coming, you know, my Trump, my MAGA, my white supremacy, all of these things. And it's clear and obvious propaganda to me, but then when you look at it in the broader context of the other trailers we're going to look at, you can see that there's like all of it's not just like one film that's propagandistic, okay? It's like a pattern. You see like a film about this thing, another film about this thing, and they could be like a little bit different. Like one might be about, you know, Me Too, one might be about white supremacy, one might be about like, you know, like totalitarian Nazi dictatorships or whatever. One might be about incels. There was another one that I could get the trailer for. I just didn't remember the name of the movie, but it was about, you know, like rape culture and stuff. And these are all coming out around the same time. That's not an accident, guys. It's not. Like there hasn't been a story that's not propaganda for at least a decade, with very few exceptions, like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Top Gun Maverick and like a couple of others. But most of them have been like, especially the stuff that is aimed at adults, but also stuff that was aimed at children. I mean, like Elemental is about, you know, gender fluidity, literally. And Wish is basically about like, I think it's anti-religion. I can make a anti-religion that's like, instead of empowering like a higher power, it's like about empowering the woman. So, because that's what feminism, like in its occult roots, was setting out to do. It was to replace God with women. So you if you have a problem with God, that's cool, but you're going to get women instead, and I think that's a lot worse. So, you know, okay. Anyway, let me look at your comments. Austin metastasized and took over Texas, or Tim Pool said Civil War one too many times, and a genie considered that a wish. Yeah. Zering says, so the writer of at least 2 movies I watched and liked wrote this crap. Don't meet your heroes and all that. Yeah. Let me see. Harry Pierce, hi. Alex Garland writes all these movies from perspective of female suffering, women worsting. He is also writing that upcoming movie about the Civil War, the What Kind of American Are You movie. That's the one we're looking at. We're looking at the trailer for that movie right now. I like Devs, the TV series, but it's also women focused. Zering says he has robots that he uses for sexual pleasure, but they're just machines. Such a mistechnologist, Brian. Yes, that's Ex Machina. And Jim Bottle says Mary Sue movies are big as ever. Yeah, and boring as ever too. I mean, like, okay. Well, anyway, let's play more of the Civil War trailer, okay?
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens? We're moving to D.C. today.
Oh, again, Mr. President, do you regret using airstrikes against American citizens? Because this is what they're telling you. If Trump gets into office, this is what he's going to do. You know, the only people that are probably in danger if Trump gets in the office are the people who have been like, I don't know, like having butt sex in like on the Congress floor, on the like people who are corrupt, people like, and that's a big if anyways. Like, I don't even know that any of this will happen. But when people tell you this is really scary and you don't see it, it's probably because they're the ones in danger for something that they did. But anyway, let's keep going.
Need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. What
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of...
All right, so again, here's how you know this is propaganda. The heroes of the story, Kirsten Dunst and company, are journalists. They are journalists trying to get to the truth. And they're supposedly are snipers around the Capitol. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that kind of what happened after January 6th? Wasn't the Capitol surrounded by military? Yeah, but don't pay attention to that. That's Biden's America. That was for our protection from the insurrectionists. You know, the old ladies with their tiny flags. This is what Trump will do. It's way worse. It's way worse, guys. All right, let's get into more evil white people.
Kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
So what kind of American are you? See, that's now I wouldn't think of it as like a racist dog whistle, but that's what it's intended to be. This is all, it's so obvious. Blows my mind that people are like, oh, I wonder what this could be about. Oh, I have no idea. Oh, it seems like it could be really nuanced and complex. No, it's very black and white. It's very boring. Harry Pierce says base. Love that guy. Yeah. He's good. He's good. He kind of reminds me of Hoffman. What was his name? Oh shit. The guy from he died of a drug overdose a few years ago. I can't remember his name, but anyway, let's keep going.
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Oh, again, more of these things you really have to pay attention to. So the tagline said, all empires fall. Now we're going through a rough patch in the United States, but the people who made this, they're accelerationists. They want to end all this because they're globalists. They hate the idea of nations. They hate the idea of countries. That's one of the reasons why they're cramming people into the border that are completely different from different cultures. I mean, like, can you imagine how would it work out really to have Africans, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Chinese, and like people from like, you know, the Middle East, like, and living together? It's not going to work. That's not how this works. But they don't care. So when they say all empires fall, they're telling you this is what we want. They're going to use the pretense of fascism or monationalism because they paint nationalism in a negative light with their language. They hate the word. Remember Trump said it, I'm a nationalist. And everybody was like, oh, well, that means because Trump is evil and a Nazi, so that means nationalism is also Nazism for some reason. And that's what they're doing, dude. This is not, it's on purpose. All of this stuff. It's really infuriating, honestly. It's really infuriating because people aren't like this in America. If you're not from this country, like, and you think this is what we are, it's nothing like this. Nothing like this. Okay, let's keep going.
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Again, very careful with the words. They say he does the Pledge of Allegiance, which I don't even think people say anymore. But it's not. It's presented as a very, very sinister thing. And then he says, "God bless America" at the end. And you know these people, they hate God, they hate this country. This is what they're doing. Like this is I know that, like I said, I know that the United States is in a tough spot right now. But this is not actually a realistic way of looking at it. So Zerang says, considering how we're really going down the drain, I'm surprised there's no hint about a Sodom and Gomorrah scene. Oh, they already had Eyes Wide Shut. Harry Pierce says, what they really want is to be in charge of the rainbow empire that export gay sex to the world and do not want to give it up. Yes. Boda says, Trump wants to indemnify the police. I don't know what that means, but maybe expand on that. But I have a feeling I know what it means. But Harry Pierce says, the concept of any kind of civil war in current year is utterly insane. You have to be a foreigner to even attempt to conceptualize it. Toby says they do say the pledge, but on a stack of child porn. Yeah, I remember that. That actually happened, yes. Boda says the right hates the First Amendment as much as the left. You mean the First Amendment, you mean freedom of speech? Well, I don't know about that, but you go ahead and be like the special guy on the fifth dimension of politics, and I'll be over here with real people. So, all right, so that's the Civil War trailer. I think it's pretty messed up. And I want to look at this Adam and Stitch. Or Adam and Sitch reacted to it, and I don't understand. Okay, I'm full disclosure. I've never met these guys. I don't really watch their content much at all. And the reason is because I don't think they say anything important or interesting. I think that when it comes to fence sitters, I get really frustrated with them. And these guys, especially Adam, is a super fence sitter. He tries to find what he believes to be the rational, reasonable position on everything. Like if I said pedophilia, he would be like, well, he'd like try to find like, where's the middle here so I don't upset anyone. And it's like, look, I'm not on the internet to make friends. I'm on the internet to tell the truth. Boda says, indemnify means to make it impossible to sue. Well, there could be some different consequences instead. So, I mean, I wouldn't oversimplify Trump's intentions. Harry Pierce says, the thing is, no one at the time of founding would even imagine stuff like prawn having anything to do with free speech. You would be locked up for being a lunatic. Yeah, it's true. The First Amendment is more than free speech. Well, is it freedom of association? Well, I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm not going to get caught up in a political discussion because I got too much to get through. And I don't have a lot of time because I got other shows to do. So I want to play some of this Sitch and Adam thing. Let me move up to where they start watching the video. And I will just give a little bit of commentary. So
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president.
The Florida Alliance, boys! We're coming for you. We're coming for you. California, get out of here.
The Florida Alliance.
Yeah.
Sure.
See, this is the problem with Texas and California. You guys fight. You don't know who's really in charge because they're both like, very large states. But with Florida Alliance, it's in the name. We know who's leading that movement. Florida.
Right. Well, we'll hear when that comes up.
The president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
I guess aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
I gotta tell you, that lady in the bookstore, she canceled like 15 people on Twitter before this happened. So she's like, I'm staying out of it now.
Well, yeah. I don't like when they first did that like siren thing in the background of these trailers. So, like it would be cool, but it's so overused now. Wow.
That sound effect.
It's like, oh my god, like stop.
So look at this. Who's gearing up here? This is like the federal government. These are the feds coming after us.
No, that's probably. I mean, I don't know what that logo.
I imagine that's the government because when you're painting a picture, so that's the evil fascist state. Okay. When you're telling a story about a plucky underdog pushing back against a fascist regime, the fascist regime has to look like this. They have to have like all the equipment, all the weapons, all the vehicles. They have to have all that, and the underdogs have to be like underground, and like they're like using guerrilla warfare tactics because they could be squashed like bugs, and so this is probably the bad guys. I mean, be honest. If you see, remember, the left thinks of everything in terms of power dynamics. Someone has to appear strong, even if they aren't, for example, men, in order for their side, for example, women, to appear weak and like fragile and vulnerable. It's the only way they believe sympathy can exist. It has to be very black and white, it has to be very simple and very direct. And one of the reasons for this too is that they presume that their audience is stupid. Because these people are also elitists. They believe that they're smarter than everybody else. They believe they know what's best for everyone. They're very arrogant. So that's another thing about this too. Okay, let's keep going. You live in La La Land if you think the right is actually pro First Amendment. I never said that I did. Don't put words in my mouth. Thank you.
So it doesn't look like a federal government logo.
Right. Oh, look, it might look like the state of California there.
Maybe.
Little state of California.
Citizens.
Okay, obviously, that star in front here is California.
Is it?
And that star behind is Texas.
Is it? Well, wait. Why are there 13 stripes on it? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh.
Because they don't think these things through. That's all. They really need it to invoke America because that's what's under attack. This is not somebody telling a story. This is not somebody exploring an idea or a hypothetical. This is propaganda. So they have to like tell you this is what it looks like. It's like those obey stickers that you used to see around. Like, yeah, it's Andre the Giant's face, but like you don't get too focused on that because you're losing the plot. These people don't consider the symbolism beyond the surface level. Hey, Teal Deer, military equals fash to these people, unless it's tankies, but they're unapologetic about it at least. Yes, that's right. Welcome, Teal Deer, to the chat. Gin Bottle says Hollywood directors leading the charge. More like Hollywood directors leading the cringe. Zerang says, spoilers, there will be a scene of libertarians fighting against the government, and when the government pulls back, the libertarians will go back home because the threat is over. There won't be libertarians in this. Although, you know, they may make the libertarians the bad guys. They actually do believe that libertarians are worse than Republicans. Just saying. They hate libertarians. So that's why I say when people say, you know, I'm on a whole different dimension, like, oh, I'm not on this side or this side. The left doesn't care, guys. They don't care. They hate you just as much, if not more. It's true. So your Gadsden flag may as well be a swastika. That's just the way it is. That's how they see it. And it's been that way for a very long time.
Oh,
right.
Maybe they'll tell us in the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California.
What? Oh no! You got such an atom, boy.
What? All right. This movie just lost a star. I can't believe that. This is insane. California, what are you doing? We make the goddamn movies. We make the goddamn movies.
Texas and California.
This must.
I already explained why that's not actually that crazy. When Texas turns blue, it may as well be California. And it is turning, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take the red states and make them blue states. And when they become blue states, then they may as well just be California and Washington and Oregon. That's what they're trying to do. And they're not just going to stop there. They're going to do it to Arizona. They're going to do it to Nevada. They're going to do it like wherever they can. They're going to do it to Idaho. They're going to do it to Utah. So, I mean, I don't know why they find it. This is the thing that bugs me, okay, about Adam and Sitch. The one thing that bugs me is they think that they're so smart that when they hear there's a Texas and California alliance, and they're just like, bah, ha, ha, how is that possible? Texas is a red state. Yeehaw, 10-gallon hats and all of that. I've never, I'm just going to presume that this is Texas. Even though the truth is that when all the immigrants are pouring into the country, they're coming in through fucking Texas. So the purpose of doing that is so that they change the demographics, so that they change the vote, because they said themselves, demographics is destiny. And they know it. So you scoff at this, and you'll be scoffing all the way to the wall. This is oh man. I guess it's just like, there is a weird, smug, congratulatory intellectualism that sometimes comes out of parts of YouTube that is discussing this stuff. And I'm not an alarmist, but I do take things seriously, especially propaganda, especially cultural propaganda, because I think that it can have long-lasting effects. I mean, I was affected by it when I was younger. So I don't think it should be taken that lightly. And I think it's a little stupid to just scoff and then pretend like, Alex Garland and the people involved with this film are dumb or dumber than you, because they're probably not. They probably got the backing of, very powerful people interested in doing this. Like, oh, another trailer they didn't put in here was there was the one on Netflix with Maharaja Ali and Ethan Hawke about the cyber attack that was like adapted from a book that Obama and Barack and Michelle Obama read, and they decided to produce. And somebody could watch that movie, or I don't know if it's a movie or a show. I think it's a movie, but I don't know. So I'm not going to watch it. And be like, oh, wow, there's like good points here and there's good points here. It's like, but do you know what the purpose of this thing is? It's not to entertain. It's not to entertain. I mean, some people think it's a warning. I mean, there have been, a lot of places where I guess there's been Chinese cyber attacks on our infrastructure. So like it's like they're telling us, why would Obama fund that movie? Why? Why would there be a scene in the movie where Ali is with his daughter in like they're laying in bed in a weirdly intimate way, but whatever. And she's like, you can't trust white people. Like especially white people. She literally says it. Are we just supposed to shrug? I mean, I don't like to play like whataboutism, but like, isn't it obvious that there's like anger and hatred there, even if it's not overt? Why would you write the story that way? This is what I'm saying. Like, these people don't take this stuff seriously enough, in my opinion. Tilder says they're doing the same thing in the UK, import people who want Gibbs and shove them into old military bases in rural areas that are, traditionally speaking, more right-leaning. Gibbs seekers 100% vote left. Absolutely. Why wouldn't they? If they're told to do it. This is what I'm saying. And then this is like an insult. It's like a slap in the face, because they do this to you and then they put out like a piece of propaganda, like a movie or a show, that tries to convince you of the opposite, that it's a good thing. And some people will be like, oh yeah, I guess I could see that, and it's like, you are a moron. You have to be able to, it's not a bad thing to call shit out when you see it. Anyway, I think there's a little more. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then we'll go to the next trailer.
Be one of those Austin outlets.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Okay, you saw in the background there, she's in New York City. I can see the Empire State Building in the background. So
wait,
New York City is relatively close to Washington, D.C.
You're looking at the little map here?
Yeah, I see the skyline.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Like there was a bit in there. You know what? I'm just going to tell you what they said. There was a bit in there where they were like, I kind of think it's possible that the president character is based on Donald Trump. I'm like, no shit. Why do you give these people so much credit for their subtlety? Speaking of subtlety, let's look at the next thing. So this is the American Society of Magical Negroes trailer. Again, put it in the context, okay? So we get a Civil War thing. We get the Leave the World Behind is the one on Netflix the Obamas made. Then you have this one, the American Society of Magical Negroes. Teal Deer says, sure, your city's rates of grape went up 1,000% when we doubled the population using nothing but Middle Easterners. But look at all the yummy food places that opened. Get culturally enriched, bigot. Exactly. Yes. Ma foods. Ma shawarma. All right, let's play this one. If you guys haven't seen this, oh my God, brace yourselves.
Welcome to the American Society of Magical Negroes.
I know you can feel their discomfort, Aaron. Watching you walk through a room full of white people was the most painful thing I've ever seen.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I don't want to take you to a job interview.
There's a recruiting class starting right now, and we got to get you in it.
Why is it for black people watching. Why is it you guys can only make movies about the struggle? You can't make movies about anything else. Doesn't it make you feel insulted to like go to a theater or TV show, BET or whatever, and everything that's on that has anything to do with blacks is about the struggle? How come that's the only plot there ever is? Like, Zarang says, I remember when the idea of a magical Negro was considered racist and they put this out here. Well, no, this is the thing. I know they're going to say this, but the magical Negro is a storytelling film trope. Now, this is the thing about Hollywood. It's kind of infuriating, okay? Hollywood creates the tropes, and then they blame the rest of us for the trope's existence. So look at the Bechdel test, okay? It's kind of like that. The Bechdel test makes a ridiculous claim about women in stories, blames men for it, and of course, no woman like easily gets around it, because if it would require a story to not have any men in it at all, or have those men be completely incidental, like they don't have any real purpose, or there would have to be a completely pointless scene in the movie involving two women talking about anything other than a man. Like a completely pointless scene just to check that box. Even the woman who came up with it is like, yeah, it was just a joke, bro. But of course, feminists don't care. And this is a trope that like it existed, I think, because writers were like, okay, we don't want to put blacks in films playing as criminals or as villains in some way. So we're going to flip it completely and make them like wise and enlightened, because that's what the magical Negro is. It means there's like, you know, you have this whole story and there's a black guy, usually it's a man, usually he's older, like a Morgan Freeman type, and he gives like a piece of advice at the critical moment and everything turns around, right? Maybe he was a janitor or some humble position. There's nothing racist about that, you know? Because if they eliminated it, let's say they stopped doing it and they replaced all of that role with like white guys, they complain that there are no black representation. If they made them into you know, like gangsters and villains again, that would be racist too. It's like there's no winning with these people. It's pointless. And the truth is that like stories should just be allowed to just be stories. Who gives a shit? You know, another trope that I hear a lot from blacks that doesn't make sense is the trope about the black guy dying first in a horror film, like a slasher film. I used to believe that. And then my wife and I, years ago, Lindsay and I, we watched all of the Friday the 13th movies, and not one of them had a black guy die first. Not one. Not even a black woman. Not one. I mean, there were black people in the movies that died sometimes, but it never happened. The black guy dying first did not happen. Even in the one of the oldest horror movies, Night of the Living Dead, the black guy is the last person to die. Night of the Demons, the black guy escapes and he comes back later and rescues the woman. Why do we have this Mandela effect in our minds about that? Why? It's not true. So like it's annoying because it's so limiting. Like you can't find a way out of this box. You're stuck thinking everything has to be about the struggle. And I blame like these, you know, guys like Spike Lee for that, because it's like the only thing he could write is like, oh, I'm going to do a story about college. Oh, I'm going to do a story about dating. Oh, I'm going to do a story about, you know, New York in the 1970s. But that's not it's all about racism. That's all it is. All of them are about the same thing. Malcolm X was that. It's all the same shit. And then he makes, you know, he brands the shit out of it. People buy his merchandise. He gets rich, and he gets rich off of the white supremacist system and continues to blame white people for everything. And yet people believe it. And there's no creativity. I'm sorry, but Spike Lee is so overrated. It's not even funny. Completely bereft of creativity. So anyway, we'll do more of this. Let me look at your comments really quick. Harry Pierce says, this is like one of those movies where they try to stuff as much goofy white people racism as possible, but this is black people racism in a post-ironic manner. Well, they're not being funny. I know it has like whimsical music, and some people were like, oh, it's like Harry Potter. Yeah, Harry Potter, if it was about the struggle. Like, that's all it is. It's the only thing. It's all there is. Xerax says, that's why I love the straight black men are the white people. Black people headline from the Root magazine. I said, I'm finally free. Yeah, I know. Just be you, man. Tealdra says they just want an underclass of illegal food makers and Uber drivers to serve them for below minimum wage as exploitation to the extreme, but they don't care, even though they signal the opposite. Richard Bier says those weren't real black people. Toby at Alting says that's the news about the school board folks pledging on a stack of books. Yeah, books. All right, let's play more of this trailer.
Welcome to the American Society of Magical Negroes.
I don't really understand. It's easier to say.
What's the most dangerous animal on the planet?
Shark.
White people, when they feel uncomfortable. White people feeling uncomfortable precedes a lot of bad stuff for us. That's why we fight white discomfort every day. Because the happier they are, the safer we are.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And plus, this dude is obviously half white. This guy right here, the actor. And the director is also half white of this movie. What is it with mulattoes and self-hatred? What do you have against your mom or your father, but probably your mom? Let's be real. Like what is it with you guys? Just be happy who you are. Like, I don't understand. You know what I think? Honestly, these like self-hating mixed race people that decide to come out as capital B black and talk about the struggle all the time, they have a kind of I think that they have a level of guilt for being mixed, because if you lived in the hood like I did, mixed race people get a lot of shit from black people. Like they do. I know it's verboten. I know blacks they can't be racist, but like they give, like, I'm sure mixed race blacks get more shit from blacks than whites, period. Like, it's just true. And I think that they feel like they need to prove themselves to be one of the clan or one of the tribe by being more woke. This is what Colin Kaepernick did, in my opinion. I mean, he's adopted by two white parents that raised him well, and he literally like calls them essentially slavers and colonizers and racists. And I don't know if his parents just kind of absorb it because they're getting a paycheck out of it or something, but it's painful. It's painful. Toby says, would have thought black men would want white women to be excited. Zarang says, revisiting Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, that movie could have been full of affirmation. Bugging Out could have gotten a clue and started a special repair business he eventually bought a space for. I mean, like, what's wrong with and I personally don't think representation is important. I never gave a shit about it. Like the characters I like the most in all of fiction are mostly white. Not all of them, but mostly. I never thought like, well, if he's not Puerto Rican, I don't want to know. I think it's so stupid. And and another thing too is I think that it seems to me that mixed race blacks and a lot of pro blacks are way more against miscegenation than whites, like right now. And I think they always have been. I mean, you can find like Muhammad Ali, talking about like that white, blacks should stay with blacks. He was talking about like segregation. And I think in general, when people like express their preferences, they usually want to be with people that are like them. But I think these people, like, it's like if he didn't have like a white mom, he probably wouldn't be making this movie. Anyway, let's keep going.
Name needs a little updating, maybe like magical black people, or I guess that doesn't have the same ring.
You ready?
Oh, wow.
Your first client is a Jason Munn. His morale is far too low.
Hey.
Hey.
Darn it. I was hoping there was a station right next to him.
Oh, is this one spoken for?
No.
Yeah, it's actually fun and weirdly relaxing. It's like being a secret agent with none of the danger.
Hey, I'm Lizzie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She's great.
Yeah, she's cool.
You kidding? Come on, man. She's smart and funny.
I know what you were doing going on about her. You're trying to set us up.
No, that's not what I was doing.
You cannot have a relationship with Lizzie now. Because if you don't put Jason first, everyone's magic will fail.
You see the hitch. See, he falls in love with the white girl that he's supposed to help the white guy get with. I mean, and of course, it puts a conflict because he really likes her, but he doesn't want to endanger the black folks, I guess, the magical Negro society. It's so exhausting, man. It's so exhausting. Daring says they're against miscegenation like Martin Lawrence in that Security movie he did, only if the man is white. Harry Pierce says she's white. Well, I don't know. She's not black. I don't know what she is. But the point is that let's just keep going. I bet I can predict how this movie's gonna end too, by the way. But let's watch the rest of the trailer.
I've always felt like it's my job to make white people feel comfortable, and here it literally is. But maybe it shouldn't be.
I got a great plan to ask her out, but I'm gonna need your help.
Do you think you could like work your magic?
Hey, is he talking about me?
Hey.
Oh my, wait, are you?
Someone defied the society. Who was it?
If you didn't let her go like I told you, if you interfere with her or your client, you could have your memory erased. You won't even remember she existed.
Even though we might never see each other again, I need you to know that what we had was real.
I'm curious to see how you gonna make it out of all this.
All right. So he's going to defy the system. Now, I'm going to go back to when he said, I've always felt like I had to make white people comfortable. Maybe it's time I didn't. This is the same thing as that Dear White People movie that came out where it's like, we're not here to make white people feel comfortable. Now, of course, white people are not asking anyone to do that, but that doesn't change the fact that that's what they want to say, right? No, I think she's Latina, actually, now that I looked at her up close. But who cares? Whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, what I think is going to happen is there is the one rule that you're not supposed to break as a magical Negro because you're supposed to keep white people feeling comfortable. He's going to break that rule because he's in love with a Latina, I think, or whatever. A girl that is supposed to was meant for someone else, essentially, right? And in that defiance, they will all find that they are strong and don't need to make white people happy or comfortable, and they will be able to rise up. And that is what this is going to be. So that's my prediction. Don't watch it. Don't recommend. It's probably going to be awful, and I can't stand all the hatred. This movie's full of, I know it doesn't, it's not overt, but it's totally a hate-filled anti-white movie. It totally is. And in a way, it's anti-male too. And I could get to that later. All right, next we got a movie that I'm kind of looking forward to. Furiosa. So this is the sequel to Mad Max Fury Road. And with Mad Max, I was on the fence about whether or not. I think Mad Max Fury Road is a feminist movie. I do. But I think it's an entertaining enough movie that I let the bullshit girl power garbage slip. And I just let it go. Because sometimes I think you can do something strong enough in terms of its set pieces and action that you're willing to forgive the obvious propaganda. And I do think that's what Mad Max is. Fury Road specifically, because Fury Road doesn't really have it's not really Mad Max's story. He's just kind of drifting through it. It could have been anybody. And I think this one is going to drive it home. So they're going to call it a Mad Max. I think it's called a Mad Max Saga Furiosa, but it's going to be centering on Furiosa as a character. So they're basically passing the torch without telling you they're passing the torch, is what I think. All right. Zarang says, so loving V Virginia took our magic away. Is that what this movie is saying? Is that why black women took government money and said of their ego sons and husbands couldn't be around when inspections occurred? A Danish guy says, damn, I've only got one drop of black heritage, yet the size of the chip on that trailer's shoulder is making me cringe in my soul. Yeah. There is a lot of anger. They don't look like it, but if you understand the way women, because I think it's all feminine, even though there are men in the movie and there are men that make the movie, but it's a feminine way of, it's the feminine system, as Teal Deer would say. It's the female system. Speaking of Teal Deer, he says the average American black is 25% white by genes. If an American black went to Africa, they'd be called white. American blacks get lined up with white farmers in South Africa because they're the same. Yes, yes. Well, again, you know, blacks definitely have an identity crisis that they are going through, but it's time to just let that shit go. That's why they're always trying to like implant themselves in European history and shit. Richard Bier says, check the super chows, Brian. Well, I'm not getting the super chow. Let me see. Hold on. Let me look. This isn't on, you know, this channel, so. Richard says for $5, like Ronald Reagan said, hold on, let me just put this on here. Where is there for Americans to flee to if America isn't the bastion of freedom and liberty anymore? And then when this does lead to train rides to an undisclosed location for a particular demographic, just how many people will be cheering it on? Without the struggle, there is nothing. Yeah. Then he says for $5, remember that one girl who had her ancestry DNA tested and was acting like it was Christmas morning when she got her results back, to be devastated when her results said that on her maternal lineage that she was 100% European. After that, her videos were about her assembling flat pack furniture. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that one. But I also remember Angela Davis, who was like the most like black power, black feminist from the 70s, like communist, like everything. And she had like ancestors that were on the Mayflower. Pretty awesome. All right, let's play some of this.
Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise me you'll find your way home. Furiosa. Give me this promise.
I'm just gonna let this play. Yeah, this is the story. This is like a prequel movie about Furiosa. Mad Max is not in it at all. So they're basically like, from what I can tell, they basically just tossed that out. It doesn't mean that it won't be good. I mean, like, I like Fury Road as a movie. Like, it just didn't need. Yeah, there goes what is his name? Immortan Joe, but I guess younger? I don't know. And they're gonna use Anna Taylor-Joy, who basically they're just gonna put in everything, and Chris Hemsworth is in it, which is probably a good place for him to end up, considering the Thor franchise is dead, and he's not really doing anything else. I mean, he was in some military thing that I didn't watch, and a lot of these guys that used to do the Marvel movies, they don't really have anything else going on, you know.
I'm Furiosa! The darkest of angels.
Of course.
The question is, do you have it in you to make it epic?
So, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. I think we know where this goes. So, this one is not as offensive as the other ones I just went through, in my opinion. But I will say this. I have a feeling, because this is the thing that happens with these kind of feminist movies. If they put a man in the movie as like a foil or comedy relief or a sidekick, most of the time, the male character ends up more interesting and more appealing than the main character, especially if the main character is a Mary Sue. And I am predicting that Furiosa will likely be a Mary Sue. I don't know. Maybe George Miller is better than that. Maybe he won't. But if he didn't, I'd be surprised. I think that it will be the case. Just my prediction. And I think that the supporting characters like Chris Helmsworth, and is that Chris Helmsworth? He sounds different. But anyway, I have a feeling that the other characters will be better in a way, because they'll probably have flaws, and maybe they'll have like an interesting, I don't know, quirks about them that will make them more interesting. In general, that was the thing about Mad Max Fury Road, was I didn't care for Furiosa. She wasn't all that interesting. I didn't like Max either, because I guess he went through more shit in that one, but it was more like the other characters that I liked more. So, all right, let me read your comments, and then I'm going to wrap it up, because in about a half an hour, I got to do Badger's Gate 3. So, let me see. Thanks for the super chows, but those are going right to Allison. So, Danish guy says, so this is Mad Max without Mad Max. Yes, it is. They're calling it a Mad Max saga. So they're basically saying this takes place in the Mad Max universe, but Mad Max is not in it. Speaking of Mad Max, if you haven't, you should definitely play the Mad Max video game that came out a little while ago. It's really good. It's like an open world. It's very good. I was surprised, considering it's a licensed product. Is good. So if you've ever played it, Mad Max, the open world game, it's good. Okay, let me see. Why not just call it Furiosa then? Well, they do. It's called Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga. That's the name of the movie. We remember her from the other movies. Well, there's just one of the movies she was in. She was only in the last one. Nabin Booba says, as a rule of thumb, I skip any movie with a female main protagonist. Fair enough. Xanthoth says, why is egalitarian principles not pushed more instead of antagonizing and othering those who have different characteristics? It's just sad and depressing. It is. But the thing is, that's what they want to do. They're trying to demoralize you, especially with these, like, Civil War and the American Society of Magical Negroes. Those are designed to demoralize people who, like Western chauvinists like me, and white people and men. I mean, that's what they exist for, and you can't let them do it. So, Zerang says, Helmsworth was in a Red Dawn remake. Seriously, it's getting to the point that I see Chris Helmsworth's listed, and I think he's going to be bent over like Marcellus Wallace with no redemption arc. I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, he got absolutely dragged over the coals in the Thor movies, except for the first one, but whatever. A Danish guy says, you don't get protected class status if you ask people to actually treat you equally. And then Great Indoors, what's up? It says, Brian, yesterday I wanted to ask you about James Lindsay. Well, I'm going to be streaming on Badger Arcade in about 25 minutes, so you can ask me there. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up here. Come over to Badger Arcade. I'll be starting there in about 25 minutes. Like I said, I just need to take the dog out really quick and make myself some coffee, and I will see you all there. I might not make coffee yet. I might wait. Nah, I probably will. Yeah, thanks for the super chows and for hanging out with me and, with this. Also, I'm going to be doing another stream on this channel on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. It's going to be Lindsay and myself, and we're going to be talking to a guy named Justin Dwayne Parker, who has been doing a lot of research into critical theory papers, and we're going to talk about some of those. So that'll be here on He Said, She Said. Follow us there, because Lindsay and I are going to be talking to him. It's going to be great. It's going to be on Wednesday night, so like around 6, I think. Anyway, thanks, guys, for coming on the show. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And please, just thanks for showing up. Hit the bell for notifications. Talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good afternoon, and I'll see you over at Badger Arcade.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.